Hi, unfortunately couldn't compose and write you stories, but I'm coming back with renewed vigor and desire, so the content will only get better. Enjoy the show. Whispers of the Obsidian Amulet. Evelyn Harper had always been captivated by the enigmatic whispers of history, the secrets that lay hidden beneath layers of time and forgotten civilizations. As a renowned archaeologist, her reputation was built upon uncovering relics that told stories long lost to the annals of time. Her latest expedition, however, promised to surpass all previous endeavors in both mystery and peril. The destination was the remote village of Vardos, nestled deep within the Carpathian Mountains, a place shrouded in legend and rarely touched by modern explorers. The journey to Vardos was fraught with challenges. Evelyn and her team trekked through dense forests where the sunlight struggled to penetrate the thick canopy, casting eerie shadows that danced with every step. The path was narrow and winding, often disappearing into mist that clung to the mountainside. As they ascended higher, the air grew colder, and the sense of isolation intensified. Evelyn felt a mix of excitement and unease. The villagers spoke of an ancient relic, the Obsidian Amulet, that held unimaginable power, a relic that had driven many to madness and despair. Upon reaching Vardos, the team was greeted by the village elder, Mara, a woman whose presence commanded respect. Mara was slender, with silver hair cascading over her shoulders and eyes that seemed to hold centuries of wisdom and sorrow. "Welcome, Dr. Harper," she intoned, her voice carrying the weight of unspoken histories. "You've come seeking the Obsidian Amulet." Evelyn nodded, her heart racing. The villagers observed them with a mix of curiosity and fear, their expressions guarded as if the very mention of the amulet brought back haunting memories. Mara led them to the heart of the village, where stone cottages with thatched roofs stood in a circular formation around a central square. In the center stood a towering oak tree, its branches gnarled and twisted, casting long, skeletal shadows even in the daylight. Beneath the oak was a stone pedestal, intricately carved with symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed from different angles. Atop it rested the Obsidian Amulet, a large, dark stone set in elaborate gold filigree. The amulet emanated an aura that was both mesmerizing and unsettling, its surface reflecting light in ways that suggested depths far beyond its physical form. As Evelyn approached the pedestal, Mara spoke again. "The amulet is not merely a relic. It is a vessel of souls, a conduit between the living and the dead. Many have sought its power, but few have returned unscathed." Ignoring the warning, Evelyn reached out to examine the amulet more closely. As her fingers brushed the cool surface, a surge of energy coursed through her, and the world around her seemed to warp and distort. Visions flashed before her eyes, images of the ancient civilization that had crafted the amulet, their rituals, their hopes, and their ultimate downfall. She saw figures cloaked in darkness, their faces contorted in anguish, bound to the amulet by unseen forces. Determined to understand the true nature of the Obsidian Amulet, Evelyn spent the following days immersed in research. The village's archives were a treasure trove of fragmented texts and faded manuscripts, each page revealing more about the amulet's origins and the tragedy that befell the people of Vardos. According to the legends, the amulet was created by a civilization that had harnessed both spiritual and elemental powers, seeking to achieve immortality by binding their souls to the relic. However, their experiments had backfired, plunging the village into eternal darkness and despair. As Evelyn delved deeper, she began to experience strange phenomena. Objects in her lodging moved on their own, and whispers echoed in the dead of night, voices that seemed to emanate from the amulet itself. Her dreams were haunted by visions of the past, and she often awoke drenched in sweat, the weight of unseen burdens pressing down on her. One evening, as a storm brewed over the mountains, Evelyn decided to conduct a ritual to communicate directly with the spirits bound to the amulet. Armed with the knowledge gleaned from the archives, she prepared the sacred space beneath the oak tree. Candles were arranged in a precise pattern, and incense filled the air with a pungent aroma designed to bridge the gap between worlds. As midnight approached, the winds howled outside, and the first drops of rain began to fall. Evelyn stood at the center of the ritual, the amulet held aloft between her hands. She began to chant the incantations, her voice steady despite the growing tension. The air grew thick with anticipation, and the temperature plummeted, causing her breath to condense in the chilly air. Suddenly, the ground beneath her feet seemed to pulse with energy, and the symbols on the pedestal glowed with an unearthly light. A vortex of shadows spiraled around her, and spectral figures began to materialize, their translucent forms flickering like flames in the wind. Their eyes, hollow and filled with sorrow, fixated on Evelyn as she continued the ritual. "Why do you awaken us?" a voice echoed, resonating with both pain and desperation. Evelyn steadied herself, her voice unwavering. "I seek understanding. I wish to free you from this eternal bondage." The spirits swirled around her, their forms shifting and merging as they conveyed their collective anguish. "The amulet is our prison and our anchor. To break free, you must confront the darkness that binds us. Only then can we find peace." Before she could respond, the vortex intensified, pulling her into a realm of shadows and echoes. Evelyn found herself standing amidst the ruins of the ancient civilization that had once thrived where Vardos now lay. The sky above was a tumultuous blend of dark clouds and ethereal lights, casting an eerie glow over the desolate landscape. Towering structures lay in ruins, overgrown with vegetation that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. At the center of this spectral city stood a grand altar, identical to the one in Vardos, holding an amulet that mirrored the one Evelyn possessed. The air was thick with the weight of centuries-old sorrows, and the spirits moved about, their interactions tinged with frustration and longing. Evelyn approached the altar, feeling the oppressive energy of the place bearing down on her. "What must I do to release you?" she asked, her voice echoing in the vast emptiness. A spirit stepped forward, its form more defined than the others. "You must destroy the source of our torment. Only by severing the bond can we be free. But beware, the darkness within the amulet is not easily vanquished." Determined, Evelyn realized that to free the spirits, she would have to confront the malevolent force that had corrupted the amulet. She could feel the darkness pressing against her, seeking to draw her into its depths. Summoning her inner strength, she focused on her mission, channeling her knowledge and willpower into a single, decisive action. As she reached out to grasp the amulet, the shadows coalesced into a formidable entity, a manifestation of the darkness that had long held the souls captive. The entity's presence was suffocating, its intent clear: retain the souls and maintain the power it derived from their suffering. Evelyn engaged in a battle of wills, her determination clashing with the oppressive force of the darkness. Memories of her past, her motivations, and her desire to help the trapped souls fueled her resistance. The struggle was intense, each moment stretching into eternity as she fought to shatter the amulet's hold. With a final, resolute effort, Evelyn summoned all her strength and shattered the amulet. The explosion of energy was cataclysmic, sending shockwaves through both realms. The darkness recoiled, dissipating into nothingness as the bonds that held the spirits were broken. A profound silence followed, the oppressive weight lifting as the souls found peace at last. Evelyn was thrust back into Vardos, the storm outside mirroring the turmoil she had just endured. The oak tree stood silent, the pedestal empty where the amulet had once rested. Mara approached her, her eyes reflecting a mix of gratitude and sadness. "You have done what many could not. The spirits are free." Exhausted but triumphant, Evelyn felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The connection she had forged with the amulet had granted her insights and experiences beyond her wildest dreams, but it had also taken a toll on her spirit. As she prepared to leave Vardos, she glanced back one last time, the village bathed in the gentle light of dawn, free from the shadows that had once haunted it. However, as she descended the mountain path, a faint whisper carried on the wind reached her ears, a soft, almost imperceptible reminder that some relics hold onto their power, and some stories, no matter how resolved, continue to echo through the ages. Weeks later, back in her study, Evelyn reviewed her findings. The experience had not only advanced her academic standing, but it also left her with a profound understanding of the delicate balance between power and responsibility. She documented every detail, ensuring that the lessons learned from Vardos would guide future generations of explorers and scholars. Yet, late at night, when the world was quiet and the moon cast silvery shadows through her window, Evelyn sometimes felt the lingering presence of the amulet. A subtle shift in the air, a fleeting shadow at the edge of her vision. Small reminders that the boundary between the living and the dead was never truly absolute. Determined to prevent others from falling into the same traps, Evelyn established protocols for handling relics of immense power. She reached out to Mara, forging a lasting alliance between her academic institution and the village of Vardos. Together, they worked to preserve the history and legacy of the amulet, ensuring that its story would be told with respect and caution. As years passed, Evelyn's encounter with the Obsidian Amulet became a cornerstone of her career, a testament to the thin line between discovery and obsession. She continued her work, driven by the knowledge that every relic held its own story, its own spirit, and its own lessons for those brave enough to seek them. In the end, Evelyn Harper's journey to Vardos was more than an archaeological expedition. It was a profound exploration of the human spirit, the quest for understanding, and the eternal struggle between light and darkness. The whispers of the Obsidian Amulet had not only freed the souls of the past, but had also illuminated the path forward for those who dared to listen. Echoes of the Crimson Locket. Amelia Grant had always felt a peculiar connection to the past. Growing up in a small town like Ravenswood, where every building and every cobblestone seemed to whisper stories of bygone eras, she nurtured her passion for uncovering the hidden histories that lay beneath the surface. As a skilled antique dealer, Amelia thrived on finding relics that held secrets and tales waiting to be told. Her latest acquisition, however, promised to be unlike anything she had ever encountered. A Crimson Locket rumored to carry a dark and tragic legacy. The locket was discovered in the attic of an old Victorian mansion on the outskirts of Ravenswood. The mansion, abandoned for decades, had recently been sold to a reclusive artist named Victor Blackwood, whose eccentric nature and reclusive habits had become the subject of much speculation among the townsfolk. Victor was a man of mystery, rarely seen in public, and his artworks, though admired for their haunting beauty, were often whispered about in hushed tones for their unsettling themes. When Victor offered Amelia the locket, he did so with a guarded expression, his piercing blue eyes hinting at secrets he was reluctant to share. "This locket has been in my family for generations," he explained, his voice low and measured. "It's said to hold more than just memories." Intrigued by the enigmatic nature of the locket, Amelia accepted it, unaware of the darkness that lay within. The locket was exquisitely crafted, its surface adorned with intricate engravings of roses and thorns, and at its center lay a deep red gemstone that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. As she held it in her hands, Amelia felt a strange warmth emanating from the relic, as if it were alive with its own heartbeat. Determined to uncover the story behind the Crimson Locket, Amelia delved into research, scouring Old Town records and speaking with the elderly residents of Ravenswood. She learned that the locket had been passed down through generations of the Blackwood family, each owner meeting a mysterious and often tragic end. Legend spoke of a curse placed upon the locket, a curse that bound the souls of its bearers to a cycle of sorrow and loss. Amelia's investigation led her to the town's historical society, where she met Eleanor Whitaker, a stern yet knowledgeable archivist with a keen interest in local legends. Eleanor revealed that the Blackwood family had once been prominent figures in Ravenswood, known for their wealth and influence. However, a series of inexplicable tragedies had befallen the family, each member succumbing to untimely and often violent deaths. The Crimson Locket was believed to be the source of their misfortune, a relic that had brought nothing but despair to those who possessed it. Undeterred by the ominous history, Amelia continued her quest, her curiosity driving her deeper into the mysteries of the locket. She decided to visit Victor Blackwood, hoping to gain more insight into the relic's origins. Victor welcomed her into his secluded mansion, the air thick with the scent of oil paints and the faintest hint of decay. The walls were adorned with Victor's artwork, each piece more haunting than the last. Portraits with eyes that seemed to follow her every move, landscapes cloaked in perpetual twilight, and abstract compositions that evoked a sense of unease. In Victor's private study, Amelia found a collection of journals belonging to her ancestors. Leafing through the fragile pages, she discovered entries detailing the family's descent into madness and despair, all seemingly linked to the Crimson Locket. One entry stood out, penned in trembling handwriting. "The locket is a vessel for our pain, a reminder of the darkness that resides within us. We are bound to it, unable to escape its grasp." As Amelia absorbed the grim revelations, the atmosphere in the room grew heavy, the air thick with an unseen presence. The temperature dropped suddenly, and the crimson gemstone in the locket began to glow ominously. Shadows lengthened and danced around her, and she felt a cold whisper against her ear. "Release us." Startled but resolute, Amelia knew she had to confront the locket's dark influence. She sought out Eleanor's assistance, and together they delved deeper into the lore surrounding the relic. Their research led them to an old church on the outskirts of town, its once grand facade now weathered and overgrown with ivy. Inside, they discovered a hidden chamber beneath the altar, where a forgotten altar stood, adorned with symbols matching those on the locket. Determined to break the curse, Amelia and Eleanor prepared a ritual to release the trapped souls bound within the locket. They gathered candles, herbs, and sacred texts, following the instructions painstakingly transcribed from the journals. As night fell, they returned to Victor's mansion, the locket at the center of their preparations. As they began the ritual, The mansion seemed to come alive with malevolent energy. The candles flickered violently, casting erratic shadows that twisted and writhed on the walls. The air grew thick with an oppressive presence, and the locket's glow intensified, pulsating with a sinister rhythm. Amelia could feel the weight of countless souls pressing against her, their anguish palpable. "Speak the words of release," Eleanor urged, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. Amelia recited the incantation, her voice echoing through the room. As she spoke, the locket began to vibrate, and the crimson gemstone shattered into 1,000 shards, each fragment reflecting a fleeting image of suffering and despair. The room was engulfed in a blinding light, and the oppressive presence lifted, replaced by a profound silence. Exhausted but victorious, Amelia and Eleanor watched as the fragments of the locket dissolved into the air, the trapped souls finally free from their eternal torment. The mansion seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, the heavy atmosphere lifting as if a great burden had been lifted. In the days that followed, Ravenswood began to heal from the curse that had plagued it for generations. Victor Blackwood, no longer bound by the relic, found peace and purpose in his art, creating pieces that reflected his newfound serenity. Amelia returned the space where the locket once lay, ensuring that no relic of such dark power would ever again bring harm to the town. However, the experience left an indelible mark on Amelia. She realized that some relics hold more than just history. They hold the essence of the human spirit, both its light and its darkness. Determined to protect others from similar fates, she established a foundation dedicated to researching and safeguarding artifacts with mysterious origins, ensuring that the lessons learned from the Crimson Locket would guide future generations. Yet, late at night, when the world was quiet and the moon cast silvery shadows through her window, Amelia sometimes felt a lingering presence, a gentle reminder that the boundary between the living and the dead was fragile, and that the echoes of the past could still resonate in the present. The Crimson Locket was gone, but its story lived on, a testament to the enduring power of history and the eternal struggle between light and darkness. As Amelia continued her work, she often reflected on the journey that had changed her life forever. The Crimson Locket had taught her that true understanding requires not just knowledge, but empathy and courage. It had shown her that even in the darkest of times, there is hope for redemption and peace. Years later, Amelia's foundation became renowned for its dedication to preserving history and protecting the world from the dangers of cursed relics. Her encounter with the Crimson Locket was chronicled in numerous publications, inspiring countless individuals to pursue their passions with both enthusiasm and caution. Yet, amidst her achievements, Amelia remained humble, always remembering the lessons learned in the shadowed halls of Victor Blackwood's mansion. One crisp autumn evening, as leaves painted the town in hues of gold and crimson, Amelia received a package with no return address. Inside was a small, unopened box, identical in design to the one that had once held the cursed locket. Her heart raced as she recognized the intricate engravings and the deep red gemstone that seemed to pulse with an eerie light. Trembling, Amelia opened the box, half expecting the worst. But instead of another relic, she found a single, folded note. Unfolding it, she read the words, "Some stories never truly end. Stay vigilant." A chill ran down her spine as she realized that while the Crimson Locket was no longer a threat, the world still held countless mysteries and relics that required protection. Amelia knew that her work was far from over, and that the echoes of the past would continue to shape the present in ways she could never have imagined. With renewed determination, Amelia embraced her role as a guardian of history, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The Crimson Locket had been just the beginning, a catalyst for a life dedicated to uncovering the hidden truths that bind us all. And as she gazed out into the night, the stars twinkling above like silent witnesses, Amelia felt a sense of purpose that would guide her through the darkest of times, ensuring that the echoes of the past would be heard, understood, and ultimately laid to rest. Shadows of the Veiled Mirror. Lena Thompson had always been enthralled by the allure of the unknown. As a talented photographer with a keen eye for capturing the unseen, she spent her days exploring abandoned places, forgotten structures, and hidden corners of the world that held stories waiting to be told. Her latest project took her to the remote village of Eldermore, a place whispered about in hushed tones among locals and shrouded in mystery. Eldermore was nestled deep within the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest, a region known for its towering pines and perpetually mist-covered landscapes. The village itself was a relic of a bygone era, its wooden cottages and stone pathways untouched by time. Legends spoke of Eldermore as a place where reality and the supernatural intertwined, where mirrors didn't just reflect images, but held gateways to other realms. Lena arrived in Eldermore on a crisp autumn morning, the air heavy with the scent of pine and damp earth. Her interest had been piqued by an old journal she had discovered in an antique shop, a journal belonging to a woman named Eliza Hartley, who had mysteriously vanished from Eldermore over a century ago. The final entry in the journal mentioned a veiled mirror, an artifact rumored to possess otherworldly powers. Determined to uncover the truth behind Eliza's disappearance and the legend of the veiled mirror, Lena set out to explore the village. The streets were eerily quiet, the only sounds being the distant call of birds and the rustling of leaves. She was greeted by an elderly man named Samuel, the last living resident of Eldermore, whose family had inhabited the village for generations. "Welcome to Eldermore, Miss Thompson," Samuel greeted her with a solemn nod. "Not many come here seeking the old stories. What brings you to our secluded home?" Lena showed him the journal, hoping to gain more insight. Samuel's expression darkened as he read the passage about the veiled mirror. Eliza was a bright young woman, full of curiosity. The veiled mirror was said to show not just your reflection, but your true self, your deepest fears and desires. Many who gazed into it were never the same again. Intrigued and undeterred by the warnings, Lena pressed on. Samuel reluctantly agreed to guide her to the location of the veiled mirror, a place he described as the heart of Eldermore's mystery. They traveled through winding paths until they reached an old manor house on the outskirts of the village, its facade weathered and overgrown with ivy. The manor stood silent and imposing, its large windows covered in grime and its doors creaking with age. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the remnants of a once grand interior lay in disarray. Lena felt a chill run down her spine as she navigated the shadowed halls, her flashlight casting long, wavering beams of light. In the grand ballroom, they found the veiled mirror. It was an ornate, full-length mirror framed with intricate carvings of vines and mythical creatures. The glass itself was unlike any Lena had seen, smooth and dark, almost liquid in appearance, reflecting the room in distorted, dreamlike clarity. Samuel hesitated before speaking. The mirror has a way of revealing truths you might not be ready to face. Be cautious, Lena. Ignoring his caution, Lena approached the mirror, her reflection shimmering before her eyes. As she gazed into it, the room around her seemed to fade away, replaced by a swirling vortex of shadows and light. Images began to form, scenes from her past, moments of joy and sorrow intertwined with visions of Eldermore and its enigmatic history. Suddenly, the reflection shifted. Instead of her own image, Lena saw Eliza Hartley standing before her, her eyes filled with fear and desperation. "Help me," Eliza whispered, her voice echoing through the chamber. The mirror holds more than just reflections. It traps souls, feeding on their fears. Before Lena could react, the mirror's surface rippled like water, and tendrils of darkness reached out, pulling her towards it. Panic surged through her as she struggled to break free, but the grip of the mirror was unyielding. Samuel reached out to her, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Lena, remember what Eliza said. Confront your fears." Taking a deep breath, Lena closed her eyes and focused on the emotions that threatened to overwhelm her: doubt, fear, and the weight of unanswered questions. She visualized the light within herself, pushing back against the darkness encroaching from the mirror. Slowly, the tendrils began to retract, the mirror's pull weakening. When Lena opened her eyes, she was back in the grand ballroom, the veiled mirror now silent and still. Eliza's image had vanished, leaving only Lena's reflection staring back at her. Samuel approached, his expression a mixture of relief and sorrow. "You did it, but the mirror's hold is not easily broken." Determined to free Eliza and others trapped by the veiled mirror, Lena delved deeper into Eldermore's history. She uncovered stories of the manor's original owner, a man named Edmund Blackthorne, who had been obsessed with capturing souls to preserve his family's legacy. Blackthorne believed that the veiled mirror was the key to immortality, a belief that led to the village's descent into darkness. Lena's research revealed that the only way to break the mirror's curse was to perform a ritual of release, a ceremony that required confronting and overcoming one's deepest fears. Armed with this knowledge, she prepared herself for the task ahead, knowing that failure could mean eternal entrapment. On a moonlit night, Lena and Samuel returned to the manor, the air thick with anticipation. They set up the ritual space in the grand ballroom, arranging candles in a precise pattern around the veiled mirror. Lena held Eliza's journal, reciting the incantations that would release the trapped souls. As the ritual commenced, the mirror began to shimmer once more, the surface swirling with shadows. Figures of the past materialized, their eyes pleading for liberation. Lena stood at the center of the candle circle, her heart pounding, but her resolve unwavering. "Spirits of Eldermore," Lena intoned, her voice steady, "we seek to free you from the bonds that tie you to this realm. Confront your fears, embrace the light, and find peace." The mirror responded with a surge of energy, the shadows intensifying as the trapped souls fought against their release. Lena felt the weight of their fears pressing down on her, each one a manifestation of their deepest anxieties. She closed her eyes, reaching within herself to find the strength to overcome the darkness. Memories of her own fears surfaced, doubts about her abilities, the fear of failure, and the haunting uncertainty of what lay ahead. Lena confronted each fear, acknowledging them and choosing to let go. As she did, the shadows around the mirror began to dissipate, replaced by a radiant light that filled the room. One by one, the trapped souls found peace, their forms dissolving into the light as gratitude and relief washed over them. Eliza's spirit stood before Lena, a serene smile replacing the fear that once haunted her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered before fading into the light, finally free from the mirror's grasp. The veiled mirror itself began to crack, the ornate frame splintering as the curse it held unraveled. With a final burst of energy, the mirror shattered into countless fragments, each piece reflecting a moment of liberation. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the manor seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Exhausted but triumphant, Lena and Samuel stood amidst the remnants of the ritual. The manor, once a place of darkness and despair, now felt lighter, the heavy veil of sorrow lifted. Eldermore itself seemed to awaken from a long slumber, the surrounding forest vibrant and alive with the sounds of nature reclaiming its territory. As Lena packed her equipment to leave Eldermore, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment. She had not only uncovered the truth behind the veiled mirror, but had also played a pivotal role in freeing the village from its dark legacy. Samuel thanked her, his eyes reflecting a newfound hope for the future of Eldermore. Back in her studio, Lena reviewed the photographs she had taken during her stay. Each image told a story of resilience and the enduring human spirit, capturing the essence of Eldermore's transformation. Her experience had deepened her understanding of the delicate balance between light and darkness and the power of facing one's fears. However, as Lena continued her work, she couldn't shake the lingering feeling that some mysteries were meant to remain untouched. Occasionally, she would catch a glimpse of a shadow out of the corner of her eye or hear a faint whisper in the silence of her studio. The experience with the veiled mirror had left an indelible mark on her, a reminder that the past never truly fades and that the echoes of those lost still linger in the spaces between worlds. Determined to honor the spirits she had freed, Lena established a foundation dedicated to preserving the histories of places like Eldermore, ensuring that their stories were remembered and respected. She collaborated with historians, paranormal experts, and other photographers, creating a network committed to uncovering and safeguarding the delicate threads that connect the living to the dead. Years later, Lena's work gained recognition not just for its artistic merit, but for its profound impact on communities grappling with their haunted pasts. She became a sought-after speaker, sharing her experiences and the lessons she had learned about courage, empathy, and the importance of confronting one's fears. Her photographs served as both a testament to the beauty of the unknown and a warning of the dangers that lay hidden within. One evening, as Lena prepared for an exhibition showcasing her work from Eldermore, she received an unexpected visitor, a young woman named Clara, who had recently moved to a neighboring town. Clara had heard of Lena's accomplishments and sought her guidance, believing that her own family was connected to another cursed relic. Lena welcomed Clara, sensing a familiar determination in her eyes. Every story has its own path, and sometimes those paths intersect in the most unexpected ways. Let's uncover the truth together. As they began to delve into the mysteries surrounding Clara's family heirloom, Lena felt a sense of purpose that transcended her individual achievements. She realized that her journey was far from over. Each relic she encountered was a piece of a larger, intricate puzzle, one that connected countless lives across time and space. The shadows of the veiled mirror had taught Lena that true understanding required more than just observation. It demanded compassion, bravery, and a willingness to face the darkness within. As she stood before the mirror one last time, now a symbol of triumph and liberation, Lena felt a profound connection to the spirits she had freed and the stories yet to be told. In the quiet moments before the exhibition, Lena gazed into a new mirror she had acquired for her collection. A simple, unassuming piece with no ornate frame or mysterious aura. As she looked into it, she saw not just her reflection, but the countless souls she had encountered, their stories intertwined with her own. A soft whisper echoed in her mind, "Thank you." With a deep sense of fulfillment, Lena turned away, ready to embrace the next chapter of her journey. The shadows of the veiled mirror had become a part of her, guiding her steps as she continued to explore the delicate balance between light and darkness, forever seeking the truths that lie just beyond the reflection. And so, Lena Thompson's legacy grew, not just as a photographer or an explorer, but as a guardian of stories, a beacon of hope for those lost in the shadows, and a testament to the enduring power of courage and compassion in the face of the unknown. The haunting of the Silver Chalice. Mason Caldwell had always been drawn to the enigmatic and the unexplained. As a seasoned investigator specializing in paranormal phenomena, his career was built on uncovering the truths behind legends and dispelling the myths that frightened ordinary people. His latest case, however, promised to be unlike any he had ever encountered. The artifact at the center of this mystery was the Silver Chalice of Seraphine, a relic steeped